Well, hey there, and welcome to Wedding Planning Simplified. I am Amy from Unmistakably You, and I'm actually here at the lovely Sunningdale Golf Club today. We are setting up for a wedding, and I just wanted to pop in live because I haven't been live in so long. We've been posting videos, so feel free to go back in our media files and check those out. But we haven't been live because Sundays in the summer are just so crazy. So today I wanted to pop in and talk to you about something a little bit different than we normally talk about. We often give tips and tricks on how to hire your vendors and how to plan for an itinerary that flows smoothly. And, things like how to not lose your sanity in the wedding planning process. But today we're going to cover something that I don't think a lot of people really talk about, and that is what we call the post-wedding blues. So this is a legitimate phenomenon that those of you who've been married recently may actually be dealing with. And I know, shout out to a couple of our past brides who have been kind of vocal about this lately, and I do appreciate that because we often get so wrapped up with our current couples that we don't often have as much time to follow up with our past couples as we would like to. And it's really important to us to know not only how your wedding day went, but how things are going afterwards. So thanks to those of you who've mentioned that this is something that you're struggling with, because it's not something that we've ever covered before, and that is the post-wedding blues. So the post-wedding blues is a term that is basically just kind of applies to couples, often brides, but we don't want to be stereotypical here. Certainly can apply to anyone who's just been married following the wedding, and it's estimated that about 50% of couples do deal with this, and a lot of those are actually kind of depressed on a clinical level following the wedding. And the reason for that is because, you've been looking forward to this event and planning it for months or years, and it's often the most exciting event thus far in your life. So you've put a lot of time into planning it. Everyone is interested in you. Everyone is asking you questions and talking about all of the exciting things that are coming up. And you're the center of attention. And let's be honest, who doesn't love being the center of attention on occasion, right? So lots of friends and family are around to support you. It's often the culmination of all of your, dreams and imaginings since you were young. Some little girls start dreaming about their weddings, and some little boys too, when they're just, my daughter's age, 5. So, we play wedding all the time at my house. So it's natural that once that event is over, you feel a little bit let down. You feel like something is missing from your life. You feel like nobody cares anymore. Nobody's interested anymore. All of your guests have gone home. Maybe you've had out of town family come in that you don't see very often, and it was really exciting while they were here, and now they're gone. So it can be a really sort of depressing time in your life. So the first thing to advise you of is that you want to try and plan for it before it happens. So if you are one of our couples who's getting married later on in the summer or perhaps next year, even just knowing that the post-wedding blues are a thing is something that's going to be helpful to you in preparing to hopefully kind of keep things a little bit more under control after the wedding. And so some things that you can do to prepare for avoiding the post-wedding blues before the wedding are to focus, as we always say, on the marriage, not just the wedding. So we would encourage you to try throughout the planning process to still have date nights with your significant other and to plan exciting and different events and to kind of get in the habit of doing that, and then to maintain that habit following the wedding so that you have something to look forward to. Studies show that once a month is the optimal sort of frequency for one of those special date nights. So trying to establish that habit pre-wedding so that then you can carry it on post-wedding and have something to look forward to is going to be a good thing to do. You also want to choose, let's say, one night a week to just focus on the two of you as a couple and not talk about the wedding. So while you're planning, we always say take a step back, don't focus on it all the time. Choose one night a week when you're not talking about anything wedding related, and then continue that following the wedding. You might want to even start something like the process of gratitude journaling. This is something that a lot of people do that is proven to be good for your mental health and well-being and outlook just in general, but it's something that can help you get through the post-wedding blues if you've gotten in the habit before the wedding of just taking a few minutes every now and then to really think about what you're grateful for and what you appreciate in your life and the things that are going well. It can just kind of boost that dopamine, I think, in your brain. Look at me not being a brain chemist at all. But when those positive serotonin, whatever the positive chemicals are in your brain that make you feel good, gratitude journaling has been proven to actually help to stimulate those positive sensors in your brain. And so starting to and continuing to journal after the wedding can be really beneficial as well. You might even want to bring up this topic if you're doing any kind of pre-wedding counseling. This is something that a lot of churches require that you do, but I've often had couples who are not getting married in a religious setting who have chosen to do some premarital counseling because it just helps set them up for, better patterns in their marriage. They've talked about how they're going to handle their money and how they're going to raise their potential children. And so talking about how you'll deal with the post-wedding blues after the wedding is going to be something that might help as well. Now, just so that you have it in your mind as well, the post-wedding blues is definitely not just a reflection of a bad wedding. It's not anything to do with dwelling on the things that went wrong potentially on your day. It's not an indication that your wedding wasn't everything that you dreamed. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite, where it was so exciting and so overwhelming and all-consuming that when you have the absence of that, it feels like a void in your life. So just be aware that it's not a reflection that your wedding was bad if you're dealing with the post-wedding blues. Also, something to put on your radar is that the post-wedding blues can potentially be an indication of some deeper issues. I am no counselor, no therapist, so I don't want to get too far into this, but just be aware that it's easy to mask other problems in the relationship with the excitement of a wedding. So just like, having children won't fix a marriage that's in trouble, having a wedding won't fix a relationship that's in trouble. So just if you're pre-wedding, just continue to be mindful of the health of your relationship and your feelings about the relationship itself, and making sure that you are doing what's right for both you and your partner by getting married, because it's sometimes your true feelings can kind of get buried in the excitement of planning that wedding, and we don't want to see that happen to you. Now, something that you can definitely do if you are in the post-wedding blues is to find something else to get excited about. So perhaps that's planning for a honeymoon that happens a little bit later. There are kind of sort of mixed reviews on the timing of the honeymoon and its impact on potential post-wedding blues. Some people say that if you immediately go on your honeymoon, it's exciting and you're still riding that wedding high and you're excited about the actual wedding, and then you're excited about the honeymoon. And so it prolongs that feeling of euphoria, but then you crash even harder afterwards. Some people say that postponing the honeymoon is also not a good thing to do, because the wedding blues hit immediately and then the honeymoon loses its sort of attraction. But generally, most people say that having something exciting like a trip to plan for is going to help you to sort of moderate some of those feelings of sadness that you might experience. So maybe if you're planning for a much later honeymoon, maybe 6 months or a year down the road, maybe you can plan a mini moon in the interim, so that there's still something that's coming up in the near future that you're really excited about, that you can put some of that energy towards, some of that planning energy and time that you had been spending on the wedding. Find something that you said you didn't have time for before, that now that you are not planning the wedding, you have time for. Maybe take up a new hobby, maybe take some classes, maybe start a new degree if you're, if you're educationally minded. You could start a new home reno or redecorate a room. Maybe you've gotten some new wedding gifts that you can incorporate into your home, or maybe you can finally, finish the basement or add on that ensuite bathroom. Maybe find a class that interests you and your new spouse. Find something that the two of you can do together, or take up a new hobby together, or, learn to do a new skill together. Something that is going to be beneficial to your relationship in the future, but also that'll help you through those feelings of dejection right after the wedding. Now, something else to think about is don't bottle up these feelings. If you're having feelings of post-wedding blues, talk to somebody. Talk to your friends, talk to your spouse. Maybe they're feeling the same way and they're keeping it under wraps as well. So trying to find someone to talk to is going to be really helpful in your long-term relationship, but definitely post-wedding. And so you can find times to talk to your spouse by planning those more frequent date nights. Or maybe plan some dates with your new family or your old family, your existing family. Maybe it's time to get to know some of those in-laws better. Maybe it's time to spend a little bit more quality time with your friends. Plan a wine tour to Niagara, or plan a post-wedding bachelorette. There's no reason that your bachelorette needs to happen before the wedding and then be over and done with. So finding time to spend with people and talking about your feelings with them is definitely something that'll help you to get through it as well. Don't forget to take care of that mental health. So don't bottle things up. Counseling can be a wonderful thing. So if you're feeling for a long period of time really down, especially if it persists past 6 months, it might be time to maybe find a social worker or a counselor or a therapist to talk to who can help you deal with some of those issues. Also, post-wedding blues are not the time to make snap decisions. So don't go out and spend a whole lot of money on something that you haven't been planning for a long time. Don't, get a puppy on the spur of the moment. Don't suddenly go out and buy a boat or something extravagant that you haven't planned for just to try to make yourself feel better. That instant gratification of the purchase and the excitement isn't going to take away any feelings of post-wedding blues that you might be dealing with. So I certainly hope that you are not struggling with any of these feelings, but I don't want to kind of sweep it under the rug. I think it's something that it's important that we talk about. And like I said, I am no counselor, but I am always happy to talk, even if your wedding is already over. So if you ever want to reach out, you can find me at amy@unmistakably.you.com. I am on site, like I said today, making a wedding beautiful and helping it flow smoothly for a lovely couple. So send them some positive vibes at about 4 o'clock. And as always, reach out if there's anything I can do to help, or if you just want to chat, I'm always here. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week when we're starting our Honest August series. You're not going to want to miss that. We're going to lay some truth bombs on you, and we're going to tell it like it is. So join us next Sunday for the first installment of Honest August. And until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.